All of this has happened before, and all of this will happen again. If you're a fan of the reimagined Battlestar Galactica, you know this line. It's whispered by number 6, echoed in the Pythian prophecy, and it haunts the series like a curse humanity can't escape. But here's the thing. That line didn't originate with Battlestar Galactica. It comes from somewhere far more innocent. The 1953 Disney animated film, Peter Pan, where it's spoken by the narrator to introduce a timeless story about children who never grow up. So today we're looking at the concept of eternal return in pop culture and philosophy. Join me today where we delve into the genres of sci-fi, horror, action-adventure, pop culture, and all things geek. Hi, I'm Rob, and this is A Constantly Racing Mind. And if we trace it even further back, we find echoes in the book of Ecclesiastes. What has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. More recently, you might have heard that Russ Cole in True Detective say, "Time is a flat circle." Same idea, different words. But why does the concept keep coming back to us? Why are we so drawn to the idea that history repeats, that we're trapped in cycles, that everything we experience has already happened and will happen again? Today we're going to explore the eternal return, not just as a pop culture trope, but as a profound philosophical challenge that asks us the most important question we can face. If you had to live your life exactly as it is, over and over forever, would you embrace it or despair? So let's start with something we all experience, the uncanny feeling that we've seen this before. Every generation thinks they've invented rebellion. Every decade recycles the fashions from 20 or 30 years prior. Political movements rise, fall, and rise again with different names but similar promises. And yes, Hollywood keeps remaking the same movies, rebooting the same franchises, reimagining the same stories. Is this just creative bankruptcy, cultural laziness, or are we recognizing something deeper, that human stories, human struggles, human longings are fundamentally the same across time? We are pattern recognition machines. Our brains are wired to see repetition, to find the cycle, to predict what comes next based on what came before. But here's where it gets interesting. When we recognize these patterns in culture and history, are we discovering something true about the nature of time itself? Or are we just imposing our desire for meaning onto chaos? In August 1881, a German philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche was hiking in the Swiss Alps when he had what he called the abysmal thought, the idea of eternal recurrence. He would later present this concept through one of his most chilling thought experiments in philosophy. Imagine this. A demon appears to you in your loneliness moment and tells you, this life as you now live it and have lived it, you will have to live it once more and innumerable times more. And there will be nothing new in it, but every pain and every joy and every thought and every sigh and everything unutterably small or great in your life will have to return to you, all in the same succession and sequence. How would you react? Would you, as Nietzsche asked, gnash your teeth and curse the demon who spoke thus? Or would you have experienced even one moment so beautiful, so perfect that you would call the demon a god? This is what Nietzsche called amor fati, love or fate. The eternal return isn't about whether time actually repeats. It's a test. It's an asking. Can you love your life so completely that you would will it to repeat exactly as it is forever? When Russ Cole says time is a flat circle in True Detective, he's channeling Nietzsche, but with a distinct nihilistic flavor. For Rust, the eternal return is horror. He describes it as a trap. We've been here before and we'll be here again, stuck in the same story. In the context of the show, This philosophy underscores the investigation of ritualistic murders that echo crimes from decades past. The evil doesn't change. The victims don't change. The hunters and the hunted play out the same roles in an endless loop. But here's what makes True Detective so compelling. By the end, there's a crack in Rust's nihilism. Despite believing we are trapped in a cycle, he still chooses to fight against the darkness. He still acts as though his choices matter. This is the tension at the heart of the eternal return. If everything repeats, do our choices matter? And yet, how can we live without acting as if they do? Battlestar Galactica takes the eternal return and makes it literal. Humanity creates artificial intelligence. The AI rebels. War breaks out. Humanity is nearly destroyed. Then, somehow, survivors rebuild and eventually create artificial intelligence again. All of this has happened before, and all of this will happen again. Throughout the series, this prophecy hangs over everything. Characters recognize that they're in a cycle. The war between humans and Cylons has happened countless times across countless millennia. But here's where BSG does something fascinating. It asks whether the cycle can be broken. The answer it arrives at is both hopeful and ambiguous. To break the cycle, the survivors must make radical choices, abandon technology, disperse across primitive Earth, start over from scratch. The final scene, set 150,000 years later in modern New York City, shows us surrounded by advanced robotics again. Have we broken the cycle, or are we just living through another iteration? Battlestar Galactica suggests that the cycle might be breakable, but only through conscious recognition of the pattern and deliberate choice to act differently. Awareness is the first step toward freedom. But let's circle back to where we started, with Peter Pan and Ecclesiastes, because there's another way to view the eternal return, not as horror but as comfort. When the narrator of Peter Pan says, "All this has happened before, and it will happen again," there's a warmth to it. Stories endure, childhood wonder returns with each new generation. The cycles of life continue. Ecclesiastes, too, while sometimes read as pessimistic, nothing new under the sun, can also be read as reassuring. Your struggles, someone has faced them before. Your joys, they will be felt again. You are part of something larger than yourself, a human story that extends backward and forward through time. Seasons change and return. Children are born, grown old, and have children of their own. Civilizations rise and fall and rise again. There's a rhythm to existence. Maybe the eternal return isn't prison. Maybe it's a pattern we can learn to dance with. And this brings us back to where my mind initially went with this concept. The world of remakes, reboots, and reimaginings in cinema. Every time Hollywood announces another remake, the internet groans. Can't they come up with anything original? But maybe we're asking the wrong question. Maybe the constant retelling of stories isn't a bug. It's a feature of human culture. We remake things because new generations need to see themselves in the story. We reboot franchises because the themes will resonate. But the context has changed. We reimagine narratives because we are trying to understand them from new angles. Battlestar Galactica itself is a reimagining of the 1978 series. It took a campy space opera and transformed it into a meditation on terrorism, identity, and the cycles of violence. Same basic stories, humanity fleeing robot enemies, but completely different meaning. When we remake a film, we're not denying the original. We're participating in the eternal return. We're saying this story happened before and it's happening again. But this time we see it differently. Each iteration adds something new while acknowledging what came before. We're not trapped in the cycle. We're in conversation with it. So where does this leave us? We've journeyed from Disney to Nietzsche, from Battlestar Galactica to True Detective, from ancient scripture to modern philosophy. What do we actually do with the idea of eternal return? So here's what I think. Whether or not time literally repeats, whether or not we're in a cosmic loop, the eternal return forces us to confront the most important question we can ask. Am I living a life I would choose to live again? Not someday, when things are better. Not after you've achieved your goals or fixed your flaws. Right now, this life, this moment. Would you will it to return exactly as it is? If the answer is no, and for most of us, honestly, it probably is no, then the eternal return isn't a curse. It's a wake-up call. It's Nietzsche's demon asking, what needs to change? What can you still embrace? What pain is worth accepting because the joy that comes with it is worth reliving forever? And here's the beautiful paradox. By asking if you could live this life again, you become more present in living it now. All of this has happened before, and all of this will happen again. Maybe that's true. Maybe we are living through cycles that echo across time. Personally, culturally, cosmically, maybe history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. As Mark Twain supposedly said, maybe time really is a flat circle. But here's what I keep coming back to. Even if we're in a loop, even if we have danced these steps before, we're still here, still making choices, still creating meaning. The eternal return doesn't rob life of significance. It amplifies it. Every moment becomes infinitely important because it will return infinitely. Perhaps that's the true cosmic horror that we've been dreading. Not Lovecraft's mythological old ones, but rather this deeper existential dread that looms over us. It can also be a spiral, returning to similar places but at a higher level with greater understanding, with more wisdom. So the next time you see a remake announced, or notice history seeming to repeat itself, or feel like you've been through this before, maybe ask yourself, am I learning from the cycle? Am I becoming more conscious? Am I choosing to act differently this time? Because ultimately, that might be what breaks the cycle, or at least what makes it worth repeating. Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on eternal recurrence, cyclical time, and whether you think we're doomed to repeat ourselves or capable of change. Drop a comment below. And remember, all of this has happened before, all of this will happen again. But what you do with that knowledge, that's up to you. So if you want more deep dives into the cosmic horror we call life, survival films, and genre evolution, let me know in the comments. Follow for more breakdowns where every frame tells a story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.